Episode number 15 of NASCAR Coast to Coast, presented by Flow Racing, is here for another week. On the Motor Racing Network, I'm Chris Wilner from the Charlotte, North Carolina studios, just north of Charlotte and Concord. Kyle Rickey, my trusty co-host once again, up at Stafford Motor Speedway. Kyle, Mother Nature certainly won a few rounds here this week across the country. Many rainouts, but still some great racing going on. But unfortunately, you guys had to stay still this weekend. So what'd you do to pass the time?
Well, here's the thing. We were on this front where Stafford's here, the rain is here, but it could push north that extra 10 miles at any point, and the temperature dropped a ton on Friday night. So they made the decision to pull the plug, and we'll try it again this week where it's going to be 81 degrees or something on Friday. So we're going to skip spring. We're going to jump right into summer. And fortunately, we weren't the only racetrack, or unfortunately, we weren't the only racetrack to not have a show. Most of the New England racetracks pulled the plug because of the weather front that came through here. Riverhead Raceway in Long Island. Seekonk Speedway had their season opener planned for this past Sunday. They did not run. And then it goes further south. Bowman Gray, they didn't run. They tried. They got everyone there, I believe, and pulled the plug right before the feature. So, yeah, Mother Nature not very kind. And also it's windy. I think 55-mile-an-hour wind gusts. So it's been crazy up here.
Yeah, we had some of that too this weekend. Obviously, with Bowman Gray being rained out, we had tornado warnings coming through the Charlotte area on Friday. I mean, it was pretty gnarly. So unfortunately, not a whole lot to talk about, but the big series that ran this week did get to race under bright sunny skies. As we recap this past week, as we're already looking ahead to this weekend, and we'll start with that North-South Super Late Model Challenge out there at the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway, one of the coolest racetracks. Obviously hosts the All-America 400 every year. Fairgrounds packed it up and packed the house with fans, and boy, the Super Late Models did a good job. But Mr. William Byron just cherry picks, comes out of the Cup Series, and I feel like every time he does, he wins. And sure enough, he won the North-South Challenge in pretty thrilling fashion, actually, over Stephen Nasse, giving him a little bit of a bump and run there with a couple laps to go. Kyle, a thrilling race to watch. Certainly one of the marquee events to win each and every year.
A good field, part of a stacked lineup of racing at Nashville over the weekend. But yeah, I don't think when you see William Byron on the lineup, and we've seen what he's been able to do this year already, winning at New Smyrna, winning at, I think he won at Hickory a couple weeks ago. He's one of two multi-time Cup winners this year, and on the biggest stage of stock car racing. So whenever you see him in the lineup, he's going to be a factor, and he was. But you're right, a thrilling race with, again, another one of the bests in Stephen Nasse, and several other big names up there in the top five looking to contend. But unfortunately for them, it was the Cup star getting the checkered flag.
Yeah, and he had to rebound a little bit. He restarted in the third spot with about 11 laps to go, spun the tires, and had to drive back through the field or through the top two, and he did so with about 3 laps to go. But it all started with a big opening lap crash. I think it was Albert Francis got all sorts of sideways there in the front row, and like 10 cars just absolutely pancaked him, and melee here to start at Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. But nevertheless, William Byron wins and pretty much announced officially he'll be running back at the Snowball Derby, which why wouldn't he? Because he's about winning every time he's on the racetrack. So pretty interesting turn of events. Is he kind of flirted with the idea, I think, when he first got in the Donnie Wilson machine, but certainly now, winning a third race this year and only, I think, 4 starts, why not go try the Derby again, right?
And that's big, especially for 5 flags. They already have him committed to the event, a driver that will probably be running for the NASCAR Cup Series Championship this year. He's obviously qualified into the playoffs, and it wouldn't surprise me if he makes it to the Final Four. And anything can happen at Phoenix in November. And to have a driver either that is running for the title or the current Cup champion part of that event adds even more to it, if you can even add more prestige to that race. One of the great short track races in this country.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see who else joins him later on this year when they start to really roll in the entry list. So we mentioned Stephen Nasse finished second, Jet Nolan to top 3, Casey Roderick a top 4, Sammy Smith rounding out the top 5. We also had pro late models, Dylan Fetcho getting the win there, and there was melee for second behind him. I believe Cole Williams got it over Casey Roderick, but again, the pro late models putting up just as good of enough of a show as the super late models did there at Nashville. Past late models way up north in Maine at Oxford
The rain didn't
Plains.
get that far north.
Huh?
The rain didn't get that
No,
far north.
if it did, it'd probably be snow because let's be honest, that part of the country, whew, but Oxford Plains, a beautiful racetrack. The past late models again there. Cole Butcher out of Nova Scotia, so coming down from Canada, won his first super late model race there at the track. 2 engine changes, Kyle. Not 1, but 2, and he still got it done.
Got it done and was able to hold off some big names behind him. You had Johnny Clark, one of the winningest drivers in the Pro All-Star Series history, finishing in second. DJ Shaw, a second-generation driver that has also found his fair share of success, that is in third. A great field for the past teams, right in the middle of a busy stretch for them. Good field, I believe almost 41 cars took the green flag. A wild race, as you mentioned, but yeah, Cole picking up the checker flag.
Then we dealt with Mother Nature. Bowman Gray, Cars Tour was postponed or will be postponed from Ace Speedway at a later date once they announce that. So a couple other big series not running as well. But we go back to Nashville, and that's where we had Arca East, the Music City 200, back in action again. Arca hadn't been running really in a while, making their return after 3 races in the season. And boy, Nashville, again, did not disappoint for one driver. His name's Sammy Smith. Everybody else just trying to fight for second because what the heck? Can anybody stop this guy, Kyle? I mean, we saw Taylor Gray basically be the only one to deny him 4 straight victories to start the year, but I feel like he's got this Arca East series pretty much wrapped around his finger at this point.
He does, and there's only 3 races left, and he has 3 wins of the 4 events run thus far. I thought Taylor Gray would be the driver to stay with him, but Jake Finch, I believe, surprised a lot of people by not only winning the pole, but also leading the first 45 laps of the 200-lap event. I think we thought, okay, Jake could give Sammy a run for his money here, but not to be the case. Sammy took the lead, and off he went after that, led the final 155 laps of the event to claim yet another win. No surprise. Taylor Gray finishing third. Mason Mingus. We haven't talked much about Mason these last couple of years. A good top 5 finish for Mason, and Leland Honeyman rounding out the top 5.
So Sammy Smith has a 9-point championship lead there in that KBM Toyota. Like Kyle mentioned, 3 races to go. 9 points, though, seems like it should be a lot more. You still think somebody could make a run here, especially I think a couple good tracks for Taylor Gray may be coming up.
Yeah, Taylor's going to be the driver that makes the run. He's the only one within reach right now. Leland Honeyman, third in points, 25 back. I think Sammy's going to have to miss a race, or you get a big field at an Iowa or a Milwaukee. Most likely, you'll get big car counts there. Bristol, the season finale, and something would have to happen to Sammy, a mechanical issue where he finishes outside of, say, the top 15. Outside of that, going to be tough to catch.
Kyle mentioned June 11th. That's the next time the Arca East is in action. Again, Iowa Speedway, the second race of the Sioux Chief Showdown race, too. So a little added championship within a championship to keep an eye on. But again, a big break for them, June 11th at Iowa. All right, Kyle, shout-outs of the week before we talk to one of the Arca Menards Series drivers actually leading the National Point Series, Raja Carruth. He joins us in a minute. But shout-out for the week for me is going to be Brian Kruchek. Dominating win in the Granite State Pro Stock Series, the team's hometown track, Star Speedway, and a good job for him. Another driver we don't get to talk a lot about way up in the Granite State, but doing a good job in the Pro Stock Series. And then I want to give a shout out to Landon Huffman. We've I think had him on the show, or Kyle, you've had him on the show before, running Twin 40s again up at Hickory Motor Speedway, leading the points, and I think he's 12th nationally too, and he's doing it all on a backup car after absolutely junking his late model stock a couple weeks ago. Basically took his limited late model, converted into a late model stock, and has been tearing it up ever since, picking up a sweep of the wins 2 weeks ago and then getting a pair of top 5s this past weekend. So shout out to Landon Huffman and Huffman Racing. Kyle, any shouts on your end?
Yeah, I just mentioned him a moment ago. 17-year-old Jake Finch, the son of longtime car owner in the NASCAR world, James Finch, getting his feet wet in the Arca Menards Series and running well last weekend at Nashville. Surprised a lot of people, and I think he's got good equipment, and I think he's going to be, if not contending for the title this year, I believe he's already missed a race. No doubt it's going to be a name that we'll be talking about here for years to come. So great run for Jake. I think surprised a few people over the weekend, leading all those laps early, winning the pole, and getting a career best second place finish to Sammy Smith at Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway.
All right, coming up, our first of two guests. Yes, a double dose of guests here on NASCAR Coast to Coast presented by Flow Racing. Raja Carruth is on the other side of the break, our Arca Menards Series national point leader. A big season for Rajah. And then we'll visit with Katie Hettinger, who picked up a win out at Hickory Motor Speedway a couple weeks ago on her rise in the late model division. That's all coming up next on NASCAR Coast to Coast presented by Flow Racing. You're watching NASCAR Coast to Coast presented by Flow Racing, the new home of NASCAR roots. Catch the Wheel and Modified Tour, Arca Menards Series, Pinty's, and NASCAR Weekly Tour races all season long on flowracing.com. Subscribe today. You're watching NASCAR Coast to Coast presented by Flow Racing, the new home of NASCAR roots. Catch the Wheel and Modified Tour, Arca Menards Series, Pinty's, and NASCAR Weekly Tour races all season long on flowracing.com. Subscribe today. Welcome back to NASCAR Coast to Coast, presented by Flow Racing. A special guest joining us in studio. It's Raja Carruth, Mr. Double Duty with part-time in the NASCAR Xfinity Series as well as Rev Racing with the Arca Menards Series. Our points leader here coming into Kansas. Welcome to the show, man. You've had a heck of a start to your year.
Thanks, Chris. I'd say this year's been all right. I definitely I've wanted more. Like, as a competitor, obviously you want to win every race, but that's not realistic. So I think this year, honestly, it couldn't have gone better. I think it could have gone a lot worse. But up until this point, I feel pretty happy with how it is now. But by any means, not content.
Chris mentioned you're the point leader, 3 events in at Daytona, Phoenix, and Talladega. What do you attribute that to? I mean, you just said it could go better, and you're right. You could have 3 wins and have a perfect year. But outside of that, you are leading the standings heading to Kansas this weekend. What do you attribute this early success to?
Well, Kyle, I'm not really sure, to be honest with you. I mean, Chevy has came on this winter and supported Rev and committed to at least the next 2 years. And that's awesome because I've been able to reap some of the benefits with that, with working with Josh Weiss and Scott Speed, I guess, efficient or being more efficient as a driver, and that's really helped, along with Brad Parrott being my crew chief now moving forward. He's been a big help. Chris Lambert's my spotter for all the companion races, another big help. A lot of great people are aiding me in my development as a driver. I guess we could just go through the races, I guess, right? Each race. Okay, yeah. Cool. Yeah, so I'm in Daytona.
Let's break it down.
Yeah, Daytona, like, it was finished 11th. That race, I was just kind of like first.
It's a lot.
Yeah, first plate race, obviously. Start of the year, cameras and everywhere and stuff. But to come out of that one pretty good. Obviously, the 43 got good points that race. But being my first plate race, not really know what I was doing, to be honest. I mean, that couldn't have asked for really anything better, I think, to go there and not tear up stuff and go with the car that we made faster for the next race. Phoenix, we ran 5th the whole day, and then was able to take advantage on late race restarts. Got up to second, but I think I'd never been in that spot before, so I think I needed to have that bad experience of what not to do on a green white checkered is going to help me moving forward. So 4th there, and then at 6th at Dega, kind of being up front late at the plate race, you don't know what to expect. So now I kind of know moving forward, like how to address it, how to go about it. But I think, Kyle, to answer your question, it just comes down to consistency. Daniel, unfortunately, wrecked at Talladega, but he ran 2nd at Phoenix and 4th to 3rd at Daytona, and Nick had a flat tire at Daytona, but wins Dega 6th or 7th at Phoenix. So I think it just puts emphasis on, risk, or not risk management, but just getting to the end of the races and not compounding mistakes.
While the season is still relatively young, I think it's safe to say it's been a breakout year in terms of just driving literally everything. I think you're supposed to be running at Millbridge in a micro. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we mentioned the Alpha Prime racing with the Xfinity Series, the Arca Menards Series. How have you handled all the pressure and the eyeballs on you, as it's kind of been a breakout year and you've got a lot of people talking about you now?
Well, to be honest, man, I don't consider it pressure. I've had that for my entire driving career for the last however many years, 4 or 5 years. I don't consider it pressure. It's not like, I'm trying to like pay rent or get food on the table.
Yeah.
Like I have pressure is not having the chance. Like, I have the chance to go out and drive, period. So I don't feel any pressure. And I feel like I can just work as hard as anybody and outwork anybody and really just let the results speak for themselves. I think my goals for this year, it's hard to set numbers for finishing because, the field changes every week or things are out of your control. It's not like basketball where you can go drop a 40-point triple-double and,
Sure.
Carry your team to the playoffs, right? You can't necessarily do that. You have those moments in racing, but as a whole body of work over a season, you can't do that because you can't be the point guard and take over the game. So I think to answer your question, I don't feel any pressure whatsoever. I just see an opportunity to continue to work hard and show what I got.
And several opportunities. And we've obviously talked a lot about you in the Arca Menards series, at the National Series, and in the East Series. And you made your NASCAR Xfinity Series debut a couple of weeks ago at Richmond. What was that experience like with Tommy Joe Martins?
Kyle, honestly, the least stressful part was the driving. Everything else was stressful because I definitely had like a test that week. I drove to Richmond from school on Thursday. I had an iRacing Roto Pro race that night, which I won, which is great. And then had more homework got to do on Friday night. So it was just everything was it was a lot going on. So now I kind of know how better to manage it moving forward. But the driving part was the least stressful, I guess, instance of it. And we've finished 24th, but I mean, my goal with that stuff is just to have quiet, solid runs and not tear up stuff and just make it to the end of the races and get laps.
Yeah, Winston-Salem State University. We have to keep you in mind, like, he's still in school and he's trying to do all this. So as your calendar gets busier and busier, how do you manage all that?
That's a great question because I'm a sophomore right now. I'm like an in-person, like, actual student. Luckily, the semester's over. But, like, I commute to campus. Like, I have normal class. It's kind of online, but, like, I still attend class. So it's going to be, I think, harder, in the fall, competing for a championship and, doing those Xfinity races and some more races that I'm working on and something else. And I think it just puts an emphasis on time management. I've been a bad procrastinator throughout high school. And,
Me too. It's okay.
Yeah. And
it worked out all right.
Yeah, exactly. So I think now that puts emphasis on making sure I'm getting my work done so I'm not up late because sleep is important. But like I said, having my priorities in order, but getting my stuff done is going to help me manage, if I got to go to school Monday, Wednesdays, but Tuesdays and Thursdays, that means I got workouts, I got to be at the race shop, I got sim time, etc.
Gotcha.
So.
Yeah, I like to get stuff done early, so then I don't have to worry about it.
Couldn't be me.
I'd like to think that way, but then I actually don't do it that way.
Bingo. I'm a OT, 30 minutes before it's due, I'll start. That's not a good habit at all.
No, but you get it done.
It gets done.
Exactly. So, okay.
But does it?
Barely.
Arca Menards Series back in action this weekend at Kansas Speedway. It's a very diverse schedule. We've talked about it on the show a bunch over the years. Short tracks, super speedways, dirt tracks, road courses. What are you looking forward to most? And maybe in turn, what are you not necessarily looking forward to later this summer with some of these other races on the schedule?
Well, Carl, I'm looking forward to every race, man, to be honest.
I like that.
I can't say, like, okay, I feel good going into this place or other place. I'll be like, because then that'll somehow stun or affect my performance. So, honestly, I'm excited for every race. Going to mile and a halfs for, I guess, the second and third time and going to the big tracks and learning the aero stuff and the speed, that'll be fun and it'll be an adjustment. I think now I'm not, for lack of better words, as nervous and scared as I was in the fall, I think, with kind of getting thrown to the wolves, so to speak. But now I feel, like going to any other racetrack, going to those big tracks. Short tracks, obviously grew up, like I didn't do it like last year or the year before. But, late model stock stuff and legend cars, I mean, that's what you do. So that's nothing unnatural whatsoever. The only adjustment is going to be the road courses and the dirt stuff. And I'm doing all I can to be prepared for those races and either extend my points lead or close the gap to it and maybe get some wins.
And this is a show about grassroots racing, so you mentioned the legend car, the late model stock stuff. how does driving those cars help you as a driver when you progress through your career and get to the upper levels?
I mean, it just teaches you the basics. I mean, there's no way other to do it. But also when you race against, unfortunately, I haven't raced any car store stuff. But when you get to drive against your Justin Carrolls, your Josh Berrys, your Lane Riggs, Bob McCarty, like those caliber guys, like them guys get paid and make their living
Yeah.
going through the Virginias and the Carolinas racing those cars. So you're going against the best of the best, and you're going to learn. You're going to get beat. I haven't beat any single one of them guys, but I've learned a lot racing against them. And it's extremely important for a young driver to start for the oval stuff to do legend cars and then late models, because you learn not only, your techniques, your basic techniques, whether it's tire management, race management, situational awareness, but also like etiquette. Like you can't drive over the back of somebody like 2 laps in a race just because you're faster. You can't run over somebody, period, because you're faster. Like those lessons are extremely important, in my opinion, to learn for younger drivers and that stuff, because it's a lot of, I think, very easy for someone to go and rent a ride and, not worry about, working on fixing it, because they'll pay the crash clause and pay what they have to fix. But some people don't have that luxury and they got to work on it themselves. So I think the grassroots racing is extremely important to the sustainability of racing, period, but also from a development of a driver standpoint, because you learn so much from it.
Sure.
And you touched on it a moment ago, talking about road courses and dirt tracks and trying to maintain your points lead or close the gap on points. Are you a points racer? Will you examine the numbers after every event? And does that change the mentality going into the next race for you?
I mean, I see points racing as, not compounding mistakes and being there at the end of every race. I mean, when I was growing up watching racing, like for a certain period of time, Jimmy Johnson had won a championship for half the years I was alive. So, I remember like 2009, like he got wrecked by like Sam Hornish at Texas, but they go out with a broken car and like get salvage points, right? Like you do stuff like that to manage your day and not compound mistakes. And even if stuff takes you out of it, you fight to get a shot at it. So it doesn't change my mentality whatsoever. Like, of course, I'm not going to be naive and unaware of points going into and leaving races. And that'll probably factor into, like, all right, do I need to move this guy when either I'm racing him for points, I'm going to race him again, or he's not racing for points, he's doing whatever. So it's probably not my best interest to create an enemy with this guy that, could take me out of a championship later. So I think from that aspect, it may change kind of my approach in terms of racing people, but in terms of like prep and stuff like that, I mean, you points race by going out and trying to win every race. I mean, that's how you see it.
Away from the racetrack, you do a lot of things. We mentioned avid iRacer. We take part in the Monday Night Racing Series, and it's fun sometimes. It's frustrating the other times, but
Yeah.
you're an avid iRacer. You stream. You're big on social media. How much fun do you have on that side, not on the real racing side of things?
It's a lot of fun because I can show a little bit of my personal side. I think that's important as a driver to not be plain Jane vanilla, like, polo and forward-facing cap,
Yeah.
private school type deal. Like, it's important, I think, to not be like that because that's not the type of person I am.
Right.
So I have a lot of fun with the sim racing, with streaming, with TikTok, with sharing what music I listen to. Like, I genuinely enjoy that because it's part of my personality. Obviously, there's a limit, right? There's oversharing, but I think it's fun. It's important to show that side of you as a driver, and like I said, it's fun. And in Monday night in particular,
Yeah.
I like to make it entertaining sometimes.
He makes it entertaining. I'm in the back, catching up, trying to catch up to the field, but he's usually competing for a win, so it's a lot more fun. What's on your Spotify playlist pre-race? What's your tunes?
Put me on the spot. All right, so let's see. Pre-race, I can just pull it up right now. So I don't have to.
Here we go.
All right, sweet. So this is what I had at Dover.
Okay.
East race went decent. We broke in the Xfinity race. But here we have Pooh Shiesty, Lil Baby, Drake.
Okay. Who was at the Kentucky Derby? Drake.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lil Durk.
Kyle, you taking notes? You gonna add these to your list?
Yeah. I'm gonna add them to my list.
Sorry for this in advance, but that literally sounds like when a kid's parents or uncles is like what is that new stuff y'all listening to? Like,
Hey kids, what is the groovy stuff you're listening? Yeah,
bingo,
I know. I know exactly what you're
that's
talking
what I was
about.
going
Yeah.
for.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's what I listened
Okay.
to for that previous race. That's just
You make one for every track? Or like,
no.
oh, okay. I was gonna
No.
say
It's
that's
just
dedication.
yeah, no, that's doing too much.
Yeah.
I same kind of vibe pre-race, away from the racetrack, obviously a little bit more mellow, but race day you aren't there to make friends. So
Good point.
Yeah.
We've seen that time and time again.
Like a driver up here once said, if you want to make friends, go to summer camp.
Yep, we bring our friend to the racetrack.
You mentioned something a moment ago, something called TikTok. What's TikTok?
Don't mind him. He's really old.
Yeah, I was gonna say, man, you sound mad old, Kyle. I'm sorry.
But
TikTok.
seriously, how important is social media these days? You touched on it a moment ago with.
I mean,
when
I
you
remember
mentioned
people
TikTok.
getting Twitter was a big deal. But
Right.
now,
Right.
like TikTok, I feel like if you're not on it, you're not keeping up with the game.
Yeah, for sure. I remember when Junior made a Twitter.
Yeah.
I remember that. That was awesome. I mean, like, here's an example here. Like, social media is so important, especially for that, 18 to 49 demographic, or
Okay,
for,
well, I
for
fit it
kids.
for now.
Kyle, you're in
Um,
that demographic, bud. You should probably get TikTok.
Like, for kids, like, we mindlessly scroll and scroll and scroll for hours, and we're just taking in information. But if you can get your logo on something and say, hey, like my account right here, I'll pull up these analytics. Okay, we're just technology. But let's say for my last video, we got 20,000 impressions, right? That's like, let's say I have a paid partnership or something with my new sponsor, Circle. Like, if we do something, that means their logo gets seen 20,000 times. Of course, 20,000 people aren't going to buy that product or use their
But it's
service.
being seen.
But it's being seen.
Yeah.
And, how word of mouth works, like, that's going to help eventually. So I guess that's a kind of an example. But social media is so important just because, like, the younger generation, we're scrolling mindlessly every single day. So to intake that information and see something repetitively, that adds value to it, I think. And at the end of the day, it generates profit. So
Well, we're running
So
out
you're
of
saying I
time.
need a TikTok.
What's that, Kyle?
You're saying I need to get on
Yes.
TikTok.
yeah, so you can mindlessly spend hours scrolling.
Well,
Yes.
Kyle works at Stafford Motor Speedway, and I'm sure Stafford could get a TikTok. You could run it. You could do some
Yes.
crazy videos, get people
Yes.
out to the racetrack. Come on, Kyle. The wheels are spinning up here.
Stafford has a TikTok. I just got to figure out what to do with it now.
Well, maybe Rajah can help you.
Yeah, I got you.
Well, hey, I appreciate you coming in. Best of luck the rest of the season. I know we got Kansas coming up for Arca. When's your next Xfinity start?
Got Pocono in the Xfinity car with Alpha Prime Racing, and
Nice.
something else coming in the next couple weeks. So stay tuned for that.
Ooh. I'll have to have him tell me so we could break it on the show when that happens. So, best of luck to you. That's Raja Carruth, guys, and we're going to come back on NASCAR Coast to Coast, presented by Flow Racing, after this. You're watching NASCAR Coast to Coast, presented by Flow Racing, the new home of NASCAR Roots. Catch the Wheel and Modified Tour, Arca Menards Series, Pinty's, and NASCAR Weekly Tour races all season long on flowracing.com. Subscribe today. And welcome back to NASCAR Coast to Coast, presented by Flow Racing. Joining us now via Zoom is the driver of the number 71 late model. Traditionally races at Hickory, but I think she's got a few more racetracks coming up on her sleeve. That is the driver of Katie Hettinger. Katie, welcome to the show. We were just talking off air. We were talking social media, all the good stuff going on. But let's talk racing, because you're doing a heck of a job this year. 2 wins at Hickory this year. How would you summarize your 2022 season as we're just getting into mid-May at this point?
I think it's been pretty successful. We've definitely done a lot better at the start of the year than we did last year. It was kind of a rough start because I was just getting into late models and limited late models last year. So we worked our way up, and towards the end of the year, we finally were able to get 2 wins. And we started this year off with 2 pole awards and, like you said, a win at Hickory. So I think everybody on the team is pretty happy with our success this year.
That win coming just over a week ago, part of a wild night of racing at Hickory, because race number 2, you started mid-pack on the invert, and I think they all wrecked on lap number 1, and you had to come back up through the field, and you finished in the top 5. How special was night for you with not only a pair of top 5s, but also getting that win?
It was very exciting because we had gotten the pole that night, and so that kind of just, everyone was excited about that. So we started on the pole, and we just drove away. William Sowich, he's my age. He started on the outside of me, and every restart we were going back and forth on it. But I had some pretty good restarts, so we were all happy with how that went. And the second race was pretty crazy. We went into turn 3 on the first lap, and I saw them door banging, and so I was like, all right, that's racing. And then everything just happened, and all of a sudden I'm spun out, and I look to the left of me, and my mirror is gone because a car ran over it. So it was pretty crazy, but we were able to it was just some fender bender, everything. So we were able to get it fixed up, and the car was really good, so we were still able to drive back to 5th.
Hickory Motor Speedway, they always say it's the track where NASCAR stars are made. You look at the legends that have raced there and where they've gone in their career. How has it been for you? What do you like about Hickory? It's kind of your home track now, obviously running there pretty frequently. So what draws you to that place? And describe the racing at Hickory for fans that maybe have not been to the racetrack yet.
Well, really, we wanted to go down there because Mooresville, North Carolina, like that's where all the race teams are, NASCAR. Like, if you want to get your name out, that's usually where you go down. So that's really why we went down there, is to get my name out there and just like get a feel for everything. So the first couple races at the beginning of the season, we did okay, ran mid-pack, but then I won the first race in limited, and it was the Bobby Isaac Memorial. So it's like one of the bigger races, and that just went crazy. Like, phones were blowing off the hook, everything. And then the following race, I won late model, and I'm the youngest female to win a late model race. So then it was like phones ringing again and everything. So it's really good that we went down there because Hickory is such a historic track, and so many people have won there and everything. Like famous drivers that have moved up, like Josh Berry, who he goes back there and races every once in a while. So really wanting to go there, so then I can be in NASCAR and people will be like, yeah, she raced at Hickory.
That's awesome.
You are 14, 15?
Yeah, I turned 15 June 25th.
Oh my God, so young. But so much success at that young age. What do your friends think of all of this for you?
Well, they pretty much everyone, because we live in a small town, so everyone drives dirt bikes or they ride four-wheelers or do something with like motorized vehicles. But no one really races late models or race cars at all. So a lot of them think it's pretty cool. All the teachers ask, they're like, where are you going this weekend, or stuff like that. Actually, my best friend Grace, she comes with us. She came this past weekend to Hickory. She likes to come to the races with us, so it's really cool that she can come with me.
And you're in Michigan now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that where you're based full-time?
Yeah, so I live here with my mom, my dad, and my two little siblings. So we fly down there almost every weekend. Last year we went mostly, but this weekend we fly down here and there. We drove last weekend because I was going to race in Michigan, but it got canceled. And so my dad was like, you want to drive to Hickory? So me and my friend, we hopped in the car and we drove down there.
How far of a drive is that for you guys?
It was about 10 hours, so it wasn't too bad, but...
I mean, that's still dedication, though. I mean, when you think about it, I mean, there are short tracks up in Michigan, right? I mean, I can think of Berlin off the top of my head. But what kind of, I guess, time management skills have you had to learn between school and obviously budgeting time to be gone every weekend and kind of give up some of the normal kid stuff that you would do, this time of your life, but have to really buckle down and make sure you got everything buttoned up so you can be able to go race down in North Carolina every weekend?
Yeah, it can be challenging, especially with grades. Now that I'm in high school, I realize it's definitely harder than it was last year because a lot of things are online, but I don't have a lot of time when I'm down there because I'm usually racing or testing or going and seeing sponsors. So really, I never really have time to do my homework that I missed. And then I also am an athlete, so I play a lot of sports. So I do miss some practices, but NASCAR is my goal. So especially this year, I realized that if I want to get there, I will have to make sacrifices. And thankfully, my family is all backing me up with it.
I see you're on the varsity basketball team. And usually I know up here in Connecticut, it's a grind of a schedule between like December and March. I mean, we're talking 3 or 4 games a week. Must be a nice way though for you to bridge the gap between the 2 race seasons during those winter months when all the tracks are closed.
Yeah, that's I love sports, and so it really helps because it helps me stay in shape for race season. So I was I was actually the only freshman on both of the teams, so I didn't get as much playing time, but I still basketball is a lot of running, volleyball is a lot of hard work. So I was glad that I was able to like do something I love, but also stay in shape for the thing I love the most.
I'm so jealous because I wanted to be on the varsity basketball team all throughout middle school and high school, but they told me I was too short. And even
Like
though I
4 feet
tried to prove
tall.
them wrong, I know I shot the ball like Steph Curry, but back then, they just they wanted height. So, anyways, that's awesome. I love basketball. It's major respect for that. How cool is it though to have drivers like Annabeth Barnes Crump being down there in Hickory and this female contingency now? I mean, it's girl power is real down there in Hickory. How cool is that?
Yeah, it's really cool because I know Annabeth, she's been racing there for a while and she got that win the other weekend. And so I thought that was awesome because usually there's about three of us. I know Gracie Trotter goes to the races too. And last weekend we had like six girls there, like half the late model pack was girls. So I just thought that was awesome because, we need more females in the sport. So
Absolutely. Is there any one in particular that you go to and seek advice, especially last year when you were relatively new to Hickory?
I know last year I got to know Gracie Trotter a little bit. We're both kind of country and everything, so I'd see her at Steele's Arena down there watching bull riding. But I mostly went to her for some questions because she's a really nice girl and she's approachable and everything. So she gave me quite a few tips last year.
Before getting to this level where you're at now in your career, I saw that you used to run a little bit of dirt, US 24 Speedway there in Logansport, Indiana. That's actually my home track. You used to run micros there back in like 2008, 9, 10, somewhere around in there. How much fun did you have with that kind of as a stepping stone to getting into the late models? And would you ever consider maybe doing more of it in the future?
Oh my gosh, if someone gave me the chance to run a micro, I would jump at
We
them
have
because
Millbridge right across or up the street here.
I know. I love dirt racing. It was so much fun. I ran it for 2 years, and it was so much fun. My dad did it too. We went to the Tulsa shootout,
Yep.
and he keeps saying that we can like buy a micro, and over summer we'd go race it up there. But oh man, I love to race dirt again.
I think that would be perfect for your schedule because you can make a little bit of a extended stay, right? Because we race during the week, so come down, run on a Tuesday night or Wednesday, stay, meet some of the people down here, and then go run Hickory, on Saturday night. I think that sounds like a good plan.
Yeah, I think so too.
And if you need a reserve driver, you've got one right here too. So I
Okay.
still have my helmet, my gear bag ready to go.
Are you done?
Sorry, I thought that was cool.
It is. But you never asked me to drive with you.
Yeah, well, I haven't seen you drive yet. We've seen her drive, Kyle.
GoPro Motorflex. You missed out all those years ago.
I know.
My final
I know.
question. My final question for you, Katie, is about the schedule. What's coming up for you? I looked on your website, and it looks like you are going to have a busy summer right through the month of, I guess, December.
Yeah, we're planning to run some more races this year. Kind of, I wouldn't say more actually. Kind of just spread them out and see what comes up. Um, Actually, I don't think we'll be ready for Franklin County in 2 weeks yet. I think they're still working on getting the car ready. So we're talking about flying down to North Carolina and racing there. I want to get more seat time this year. I know last year we ran a lot of races to get seat time, but I think this year I want to run races and go win while getting seat time as well. So hopefully we can add more races to the schedule.
Where would you like to be? And this is my final question. Where would you like to be maybe in a year or two? Like where do you see your progression going? Obviously, you take baby steps at a time. You get more seat time. You get a little, notice. But where would you like to be, let's say, in 2 years?
Well, hopefully in 2 years I'll be running Arca or something like that because right now my dream goal for the year is to run Las Vegas at the end of the year in an Arca car because I'll be 15. We have an Arca car that my dad bought, but it's not like updated model or anything. It's just a test at some local bigger tracks. So hopefully I would love to run an Arca car in Las Vegas at the end of the year. And if that's not possible, then next year and the next couple years move up into that to get me one step closer to my goal.
That's awesome. Well, best of luck the rest of this year. I told Kyle and I told Rajah, who was here earlier too, I need to come up to Hickory because I've been the last couple years. I just haven't gone yet this year. And if I do you have like a T-shirt I can wear and rep your number 71?
Oh yeah, we got some merch, we got hats. We're working on getting some new ones with the new car and everything too. So
That's
it'll be some
awesome.
good stuff.
That is awesome. Well, best of luck to you the rest of the year. And of course, we can watch all the races at Hickory on Flow. So best of luck and chase those checkered flags.
Thank you.
All right, that's Katie Hettinger, driver of the number 71 late model out at Hickory Motor Speedway. Picked up a win a couple of weeks ago. We'll be right back to wrap things up and look forward to the weekend of racing ahead coming up next on NASCAR Coast to Coast presented by Flow Racing. You're watching NASCAR Coast to Coast presented by Flow Racing, the new home of NASCAR Roots. Catch the Wheel and Modified Tour, Arca Menards Series, Pinty's, and NASCAR Weekly Tour races all season long on flowracing.com. Subscribe today. And we're back on NASCAR Coast to Coast presented by Flow Racing. Time to talk a little bit news and notes before we get into the weekend schedule, which is jam-packed of series, including the return of the NASCAR Pinty Series. But first, Kyle, the Advance My Track initiative, we mentioned it a couple weeks ago, voting for your favorite short track to get $50,000 to advance its facilities, its fan engagements. Berlin won it last year. Our own Jeff Striegel was a part of that. This year, they announced the 6 finalists that you can vote on through May the 13th, and they are New Smyrna Speedway, Jennerstown Speedway, Adams County Speedway, Rockford Speedway, Alaska Raceway Park, and Claremont Motorsports Park. You surprised at any of them? Do you have a favorite? What are your thoughts on that?
Oh boy, I'm not surprised. They're all great facilities. Maybe Jennerstown a little bit because it doesn't run nearly as much. They're not as active as a lot of the other tracks that we talk about throughout the country, like a New Smyrna, for instance. I don't have a favorite. They're all deserving. Everybody part of the program deserving. And like we've talked about before, $50,000 going to go a long way to one of these racetracks. And best of luck to each of them. I know I've been to New Smyrna several times. They could use it. They get hit with so many storms down at New Smyrna Speedway. The hurricanes of, I believe, 3 or 4 years ago really ravaged that racetrack. They lost grandstands. They lost infield buildings. I believe their tech shack. A lot of damage. So, they're one that, I look at when I look for racetracks that could use an extra 50 grand. New Smyrna certainly could, but, you could say the same for all of them. I'm sure they all have their issues that we don't know about, and they all put on great race programs.
Yeah, it'll be exciting to see. Once again, race fans can go to advancemytrack.com, vote for your favorite of the 6, and that'll be voting through May the 13th, and then we'll find out who's going to win shortly thereafter. Should be a fun time, and again, this is just all benefits grassroots racing, our NASCAR-sanctioned racetracks as part of the Advance Auto Parts Weekly Series. Really cool initiative, and good that it's happening for a second straight year after the debut of last year. One other order of business that also included voting was finding out who's going to represent the SRX Series at Nashville, one of the local stars, and it came down, I think, Kyle, you just mentioned 14,000 votes is what Cole Williams got. He edged out Brittany Zamora, and so Cole Williams, the 2-time Pro Late Model champion at Nashville, as well as the Pro Late Model champion of the All-America 400 last year, is going to be the representative for Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway when SRX comes to town. We thought it was pretty much Brittany Zamora. I had no idea the late surge that Cole got, but certainly well-deserving.
Well, when you're a track champion and, he ran well there this past weekend with a top 5 in the Pro Late Models, fans know who you are. And he got the votes, got the support from those fans, and going to be a great addition to when SRX goes to that facility in July. I have the exact date, July 9th. So we're going to be one of the final events, I think maybe the final event again for SRX for their second season. And nice to see Cole will be part of the field. I think now all those spots are filled.
Yes,
I think
all the local hometown hero spots are filled. They did announce Bill Elliott signed to run at Sharon, I believe, in Chase Elliott. So we're going to get another father-son duel again. And if it's anything like last year, that'll be for some great television for sure. So, but you're right. I think all the hometown heroes, as we'll call them, spots have been filled. So with that, it's time to look at the calendar for this weekend of racing, and it kickstarts Well, this kick starts tonight, actually. Arca Menards Series or this afternoon. Nope. No, it doesn't. I got my calendar all messed up, Kyle. Kansas Motor Speedway, Dutch Boy 150 for the Arca Menards Series. We just talked to Raja Carruth about it. 2 o'clock on MRN. You can hear the coverage on the Motor Racing Network as well as FS1. 100 laps, Kyle. And at Kansas, it's a mile and a half, right? So it's intermediate when we talk NASCAR Cup Series or Xfinity Series. But it's a big track for Arca Menards Series racing competitors. And if anything, like the Phoenix Raceway showed us, that it should be a pretty big battle at the front. Obviously, you have Corey Heim. You have the points leader, Raja Carruth, up there as well. What do we think going into this weekend?
Oh, it's a track that some of these drivers have a lot of experience at, mainly because we run there twice a year, both in the spring and again in the fall, and in what has been in years past, the season finale. We will have a new winner. Ty Gibbs dominated the race, this race a year ago. And obviously he has moved on into NASCAR's National Series, running an Xfinity car. So somebody like a Rajah, who we had in studio a little bit ago, could certainly step in. He seems comfortable at these bigger tracks and has momentum on his side right now as the point leader. So, but going to be a good field, and can't wait to listen in to the Motor Racing Network's live coverage. It's going to be a busy day for MRN Saturday, with trucks and with qualifying for Cup cars, and it all starts with the Arca Menards Series Saturday afternoon.
That's right. The Truck Series will run at 7:30. MRN will be on the air for that on Saturday. NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour back in action after a little bit of a break. They're at Riverhead Raceway on Long Island. I got to have my Long Island accent on for this one. 8 o'clock is the start time Eastern, live on Flow Racing. Patrick Emmerling, boy, I tell you what, defending race winner. You got Doug Coby, Justin Bonsignor. Those guys have combined to win 6 of the previous 7, with the exception of Patrick taking last year. So really, I would think it's going to come down to those 3. But I think this year we've seen so far in the Tour, it's pretty much anyone's game at this point.
It is, with Doug not running full time, and Justin had mechanical issue the first couple laps of the race at New Smyrna Speedway, finishing outside of the top 30. So it's going to be fun to watch him battle back up through the championship standings. He won the last race at Richmond Raceway back in early April, already back into the top 10 with that win. You got guys like Eric Goodale and Tommy Catalano tied for the championship standings, and either of those two could win come Saturday evening on the tight confines of the quarter-mile Riverhead Raceway Oval. So always an exciting show. Can't wait to tune in on Flow Racing to watch the Miller Lite 200.
Yeah, and it's a racetrack too. It's been on the schedule, part of the Tour, the only racetrack that's been on the Tour every year since 1985. So a long-standing tradition, but also the local contingency, the local racers that race at Riverhead all the time, they're just as much of a favorite as is a Justin Bonsignor or Eric Goodale.
Yeah, and I haven't seen the entry list as of yet of those that may run, but when we talk about local drivers that could show up and I say steal a win, but not really steal a win. They know the racetrack better than the Tour regulars. But we have seen that happen quite a bit in years past, where a local guy that runs the Tour 3 times a year, mainly when the Tour goes to Riverhead Raceway, they can show up, win the pole, lead every lap, and take the checkered flag. So we'll see if that happens on Saturday night. We'll see how many locals from the local modified class decide to take part.
And it's the first of 3 trips, I believe, this year, too. Yep. So a difficult task for the modified drivers. Again, Saturday night, 8 o'clock, live on Flow. NASCAR Pinty Series. Kyle, we've been waiting for it, gritting our teeth, waiting to get this series launched. Certainly going to be exciting for me to actually follow the series all year long for the first time as a fan, but obviously as a broadcaster. The NTN Ultimate Bearing Experience 250 at Sunset Speedway kicks off what is going to be probably the first real official season since COVID kind of shortened the last 2 years for the NASCAR Pinty Series. A lot of momentum coming in this year. The big announcement, 5 more years with Pinty's as the, basically ambassador for NASCAR in Canada. You can watch the races now on Flow. So here in the States, Flow Racing again signing on, as well as TSN RDS in Canada. 250 laps, and it should be another good one with a lot of stars in the field.
I love this series. I love this racetrack, Sunset Speedway. I was able to go there a few years ago with a few of the folks at MRN. I think Dylan Welch was with me, Tony Bachhoven. We took a night in at Sunset while we were up there for the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series event up the road at the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, a spectacular facility. You mentioned the stars in the field, 20 right now on the entry list, headlined by defending champion, multi-time champion LP Dumoulin, who joined us in the broadcast booth just a few weeks ago at the Bristol Motor Speedway during the Pinty's truck race at Bristol on dirt to preview this upcoming season and to announce that Pinty's will be now a long-term sponsor with the series. Great short track racing at its best, some great personalities, a great facilities, and I'm glad we can watch it on Flow all year.
Certainly am as well. And drivers like Alex Tagliani are back this year, Larry Jackson, Kevin LaCroix. And, it's interesting, too, it's kind of a gateway as well for some of these drivers in the series to take part, on the NASCAR National Series here in the U.S. I mean, look at Alex Labay and what he's been able to do, a former champion, now a full-time competitor at the NASCAR Xfinity Series. So really cool to see that crossover as well. And I would like to think there'd be more in the future. What do you think?
I'm waiting for it. Somebody like an Andrew Ranger. He's had a couple of opportunities down here in the States at NASCAR's national level. I also believe in the Xfinity Series. And somebody that I think the fans could really get behind here in the U.S. A huge fan base up in Canada. I remember when they would introduce him at the old Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal, the place would go nuts when they announced Andrew Ranger as a starter. And I think, I've been waiting for him to move south, but the funding's just simply not there. And obviously these last 2 years have been tough for these drivers that reside in Canada to cross borders. And I mean, it's just really difficult as things open up. Maybe we'll see more of it.
I really like that French accent you got there.
Andrew Ranger.
Pretty good. I got to brush up on that. Hopefully once we get this season going. But again, 7 o'clock Saturday night, Pinty's season opener at Sunset Speedway. And then obviously we mention it each and every week. I'm sure somewhere, some way, someone's racing, and it's all going to be on Flow Racing. And I've got the list as Stafford's back. Kyle, you can preview what we've got coming up for Stafford. But Berlin, Jennerstown, South Boston's back in action. West Virginia Motor Speedway, the Mountaineer Nationals, a big event up there. Langley, Riverhead, we mentioned, Bowman Gray, Meridian, Evergreen. I mean, just go on to Flow Racing, look at the calendar, and get every screen ready to go. But Stafford back in action. I know we rained out last week, Kyle. What's on the docket for this weekend?
Just a regular opening Friday night. Nothing special. It's kids' night. We're going to have...
Oh, that's a great night when it's kids' night.
We're going to have a big wheel race on the front straightaway.
Yes.
And probably involve a lot of the kids that raced on Monday night, part of the Wild Thing Karts program. Usually they're there on Friday nights supporting, their dad or their uncle, or, there's usually a family member that runs on Friday night in a modified or a late model. And they find their way down to the front stretch, jump in a big wheel and zip down the front straightaway. So gonna be fun. All of our divisions are in action, our weekly divisions. There are 5 of them. All the action starts at 6 o'clock on Flow Racing.
All part of a big lineup there on Flow Racing. And obviously the Motor Racing Network will have coverage of the Arca Menards Series 2 o'clock on Saturday afternoon. Truck Series 7:30 p.m. Eastern that night from Kansas. And then obviously the NASCAR Cup Series on Sunday afternoon. Kyle, I'll leave you with this. NASCAR is now back at Kansas, a week removed from the drama that we're still talking about this week between Joey Logano and William Byron. Bump and runs. You like them, you hate them. What do you think?
I like them. As a short track guy, I mean, it's part of the deal. I guess they made contact on a restart with 25 to go.
Supposedly.
Joey alluded to it. It looked like most restarts at Darlington when the track tightens up coming off of turn 2 and everything narrows up. But you know what? If that's how we wanted to justify it, that's fine. But either way, you got to do what you got to do to get a race win.
I'm in the same boat. I like it. You get paid to win races, not run second. But you also have to keep in your mind that you have to sleep at night. And you have to look at yourself in the mirror and say, I can accept that and know that it's coming in return. So we'll leave it at that. But curious to see how stuff like this plays out, not only on the Cup Series side, but wonder how many short track racers were watching that this weekend, and maybe we'll see some bump and runs and some dumps here coming up this weekend in all your short track racing action. Well, Kyle, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Enjoy the racing out at Stafford. We'll check in with you next week.
Sounds good. Look forward to it. Mother Nature apparently is going to cooperate, so we're in good shape.
fat shake for Mother Nature. All right, and that does it here on NASCAR Coast to Coast presented by Flow Racing. For Kyle Rickey, I'm Chris Wilner. We'll see you next week and recap all the action in grassroots racing. If you enjoyed this episode of NASCAR Coast to Coast, be sure to subscribe to Flow Racing, the new home of NASCAR Roots, where you can catch the Wheel and Modified Tour, the Arca Menards Series, Pinty's, and NASCAR Weekly Tour races all season long on flowracing.com. Subscribe today.